The Mastermind group, I think, is a great way to meet some peers across attractions industries and get some different perspective on the work that you do. Oftentimes, you're collaborating within your own organization, but you don't always have the room to ask how other people do things or even ask for their advice, and it gives you a forum to either outright ask those questions or just learn, absorb from each other based on what you're doing, your best practices for your own institution. So when we did the calls, we always did sort of a how was your last week, which was nice to sort of reflect on the highs and the lows. And I think I tend to focus on the lows probably because they're usually front of mind. So it was nice to be forced to think of a win in the last week too, and to have the space to celebrate the progress that's being made and recognize that. We usually had something that we said we were going to work on from the last time that I never remembered. So I needed to take better notes, or at least look at them before the call. I'd open up my notebook and be like, oh yeah, that's what I said I was going to work on. Did I do that? But at least it was an impetus to keep those things front of mind. Then we usually talked about either a specific topic that you selected or that the group wanted to talk about. And I think it was really successful to sort of have an idea of where we might go, but leave the space open for things that were actually happening in real time that we needed help on. I didn't have as much exposure. Well, okay, let me start over. I'm not good at networking. So I don't build those relationships naturally with people. I think when other people introduced me to someone, even then it wasn't always seeing them as a resource. And so having that explicitly set out that we're all here to provide help to each other was really helpful in that you didn't have to do the awkward part of the networking. You all were in it together. You knew what the objective was. It's sort of like online dating in that you at least knew that the person wanted to date someone. So you had that already off the table, we're starting in the same place. And so that helped me build new relationships with people and learn a heck of a lot more than I would have if I had just stayed within my institution. I liked being able to share my experiences at my own institution. It helped me realize how much we're good at and how much we can help others. And I think that personally was just a confidence boost for me in knowing that I know some stuff and I can help other people and provide some resources, and that my thoughts are not just out of left field. It comes from a wealth of experience that I don't always see in myself. And that was really nice to see that. And I think still one of my favorite moments was just when we were working on somebody else's issue, and as a group we made this collective choice and said just tell them that your mastermind group said that's what you need to do. And that felt like it carried a lot of weight because it was a lot of thoughtful heads who all were this is the right way to go. And I think that was a cool thing to be able to say. I think a lot of people think of personal and portable learning as when I hear those words, I think of it as very self-contained. So I'm taking an online class or I'm reading a book. And the difference with this group was it's a lot more active and definitely a lot more applicable to what's actually happening in your job, because you could take the time to say, this thing happened to me this week, or I'm preparing for this thing that's coming up, or I'm going to hire a bunch of people. How do you guys hire? And so it gave you real-time, useful information in a different way than just reading a book and then having to, thumb through it later, or taking a class where you have to sort of glean through that information. It was incredibly useful in the moment. Anyone that leads people or operations, actually, everyone. I think anyone that's leading a complex operation. So whether that's the people involved or just the processes that need to happen, getting more minds into that and sort of breaking down, why are you doing it that way? Have you thought about doing it this way? It just helps you expand your horizons. Mostly personally, it helped with my confidence. I think it reignited my passion for this field, for wanting to manage people and do it in a way that's most effective for them and for the institution. Do it. Make sure that you can set aside the time for it so that you can be thoughtful about it, but it's absolutely worth the time invested. I think I got a lot of affirmation for choices that maybe were difficult, where I was like, maybe there's another way to go about this. Maybe dealing with a difficult staff person or whatever, and to hear nope, you have done everything that you can and it's time to bite the bullet. It's like, great. If everybody else who's also this smart and has this experience thinks that, then I have done it all. It's incredibly personal. You get to know this cohort of people in a way that would never happen in a seminar or even in a class, I don't think, because it's a place to be honest and to think critically about how you do your work. I think having somebody leading it who has so much experience in attractions in all different settings, every time that you come out to our institution to lead things, it's always incredibly successful for that group. So it's like being able to tap into that mind space where you can think critically, you can think creatively, and do that still in your office. I think it's important to set aside time outside of the calls to think about what you're working on, what you want to bring to the next one, thinking about topics before you're about to talk about them. So even if it's just another hour beforehand so that you can come in prepared. There were definitely times where I was like, oh shoot, I have a mastermind call, and I'll just jump in and I'm like, I don't know what we're talking about, I don't know what I did the last week. So that taking the time to reflect on your own, I think is just as important. I just think this is a really unique opportunity to meet people outside of your own little world. Even knowing that as a science museum we have a lot in common with, a theme park, you can say that, but what is it really? And so getting to talk to the people that have similar job roles or are doing the same kinds of things like hiring mass volumes, you really get to see the connections, but also break down the walls of that's not how we would do it, because that's we're not running a roller coaster. Of course we're not, so we don't have to train anybody on safety, but what is still relevant from that conversation that we can use in our institution? And a lot of it is. How else is it different? I mean, the fact that you're leading it makes it incredibly effective. Sorry, my phone rang. So you can't use that clip, I guess.
Say it again.
No.